Have you ever looked at a family portrait hanging on someone's wall and wondered what secrets hide behind those smiling faces? What if I told you that the perfect family next door could be harboring betrayals so profound they end in blood? In the quiet suburb of Pine Grove, where pristine lawns met white picket fences, the Carter family appeared to embody the American dream. Robert, a devoted father rebuilding his life after tragedy. His new wife Evelyn, a transgender woman who had overcome countless obstacles to live authentically. And Lily, Robert's teenage daughter, still mourning her biological mother. But beneath this carefully constructed image of progressive family values lurked a truth so shocking it defies comprehension. Evelyn, Robert's transgender wife, began a forbidden relationship with her 18-year-old stepdaughter, a relationship that would ultimately result in pregnancy and death. When boundaries dissolve between parent and child, when trust shatters beyond repair, how does a family survive? More importantly, how does it end? Think about your own home for a moment. The people you trust most in this world. Those you believe would never harm you. Now ask yourself, would you recognize the warning signs of betrayal before it was too late? Could you spot the subtle shifts in behavior that signal something forbidden is taking place under your roof? The story of the Carters isn't just another true crime tale. It's a devastating lesson in how quickly family bonds can transform into deadly entanglements when boundaries are crossed and trust is violated. Before we continue this haunting journey through the Carter family's destruction, take a moment to subscribe to True Crime Village. Hit that notification bell too, because understanding these warning signs might just save a family, perhaps even yours. Leave a comment below sharing what you think are the most important boundaries in a family. Your insight could help someone else recognize danger before tragedy strikes. Now, let's step into the seemingly perfect world of the Carters and watch as it crumbles. Pine Grove Heights embodied suburban perfection. Tree-lined streets featured impressive homes with meticulously maintained gardens. Among these showcases of domestic bliss stood the Carter residence, a two-story colonial with a wraparound porch where neighbors often spotted the family sharing evening conversations over lemonade. Robert Carter hadn't always known such tranquility. At 42, he carried the weight of profound loss. His first wife, Eleanor, had succumbed to an aggressive form of cancer just 3 years earlier, leaving him to raise their daughter Lily alone. Friends described Robert as the backbone of strength, a civil engineer who somehow managed to maintain his career while becoming both mother and father to a grieving teenage girl. When Eleanor died, something in Robert died too, recalled a close family friend. He functioned, he provided, but the light had gone from his eyes. That light returned when he met Evelyn at a community fundraiser 18 months after Eleanor's passing. Evelyn Morgan, tall, elegant, with an infectious laugh, captivated Robert immediately. Their connection deepened when she shared her story of transition, a journey marked by rejection from her birth family and years of fighting for recognition and respect. In Evelyn, Robert found someone who understood profound loss and the courage to rebuild, noted a colleague. They recognized something essential in each other. The wedding was small but joyful. Robert's friends embraced Evelyn, impressed by her intelligence and the gentle way she approached her new role as stepmother. For Robert, this marriage represented hope reborn, proof that second chances existed. For Lily, however, her father's new marriage triggered complicated emotions. Now 18 and preparing for college, she outwardly supported her father's happiness while privately struggling with loyalty to her mother's memory. Eleanor had been Lily's confidant and guide. How could anyone possibly fill that void? At first, the household operated with polite distance. Evelyn respected boundaries, careful not to overstep. Lily maintained cordial interactions while keeping emotional walls intact. Robert, caught between his new wife and daughter, attempted to bridge their worlds with family dinners and weekend outings. What witnesses failed to notice were the subtle shifts occurring within this delicate balance. The lingering glances between Evelyn and Lily during family gatherings. How their conversations extended late into night when Robert worked overtime. The increasing frequency of their bonding activities that excluded him entirely. Other warning signals flickered beneath casual observation. Lily abruptly changing conversation topics when her father entered rooms. Evelyn's hand resting slightly too long on Lily's shoulder. Physical space between them shrinking during family movie nights. Secret text messages exchanged across dinner tables. They seemed to be developing such a wonderful mother-daughter relationship, one neighbor commented. Robert looked so relieved that they were finally connecting. That connection would prove devastating beyond comprehension. The transition from appropriate step-parent-child interactions to something forbidden happened gradually, almost imperceptibly, in those quiet moments when Robert was occupied with rebuilding his career. What began as Evelyn offering homework help evolved into deep conversations about identity, loss, and belonging. Topics that resonated with both women for entirely different reasons. "I never felt seen until you came along," Lily confessed during one late-night discussion. These vulnerable exchanges created an emotional foundation where boundaries blurred under the guise of mutual understanding. Psychologists familiar with the case identified classic patterns of emotional need driving both women. For Evelyn, acceptance remained elusive despite her marriage. Having faced rejection throughout her transition journey, she hungered for validation. Lily unconsciously offered what Evelyn craved most: recognition of her womanhood, her capacity to nurture, her complete self. Meanwhile, Lily struggled with abandonment wounds after losing her mother during formative teenage years. The death of a mother during adolescence creates profound vulnerability, explained Dr. Rebecca Jensen, forensic psychologist. The child may seek replacement figures who can fulfill that maternal void, sometimes in unhealthy ways. A critical turning point occurred during spring break when Robert traveled for a 3-day conference. Alone in the house, Evelyn and Lily shared wine while looking through old photo albums. Their inhibitions lowered, physical boundaries disappeared. A comforting hug transformed into something more intimate. Neither stopped it. "I feel safe with you," Lily whispered that night. Words that should have prompted Evelyn to reestablish proper boundaries. Instead, they became permission to continue crossing lines that should never be crossed. Text messages recovered during the investigation revealed the psychological dynamic. Evelyn routinely employed phrases like, "No one understands us," and "This connection is special," classic isolation techniques that separated Lily from potential support systems. When Lily occasionally expressed guilt, Evelyn redirected those feelings. "Your father is too busy to notice what you need. I'm the only one truly here for you." As summer approached, their secret meetings intensified. Notes left in strategic locations. Deliberate accidental touches when passing in hallways. Manufactured reasons to be alone together. The relationship acquired its own dangerous momentum, fueled by forbidden desire and emotional dependencies neither could break. Friends noticed subtle changes in Lily's behavior: withdrawal from longtime social circles, excessive phone checking, nervous energy when her stepmother entered rooms, but misattributed these signs to normal teenage development. "Looking back, I can see she was different," said Madison, Lily's closest friend. "She kept saying how her stepmom really got her like no one else. I thought it was great they were bonding. I never imagined what was actually happening." What warning signs might you have noticed if this family lived next door to you? Comment below with behaviors that would raise red flags in a parent-child relationship. Your insights could help someone recognize dangerous boundary violations before they escalate. Has anyone in your life displayed similar concerning patterns? Share your experiences. Your observation might prevent another family's destruction. Next, we'll examine the moment this forbidden relationship could no longer remain hidden, and the devastating revelation that set tragedy in motion. The discovery happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Robert had left work early, a rare occurrence prompted by a canceled meeting. Upon entering his home, he heard hushed voices from the upstairs bathroom. Concerned, he approached quietly, stopping short when he heard Lily's trembling words, "What are we going to do about it?" Evelyn's response froze him in place. "We'll figure it out together. We always do." When Robert pushed open the door, the scene before him defied comprehension. His daughter and wife huddled over a pregnancy test, their expressions shifting from shock to guilt upon seeing him. "What's going on here?" he asked, though the evidence clutched in Lily's shaking hand answered his question. The silence stretched painfully until Evelyn attempted to speak. "Robert, we need to talk. Is that what I think it is?" He interrupted, pointing at the test. His voice remained unnaturally calm, a stillness before catastrophe. Lily broke first. "Dad, I'm pregnant," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Who?" Robert demanded, clinging to denial despite the growing horror in his chest. Perhaps a boyfriend, a classmate, any alternative to the unthinkable truth forming in his mind. The look between Evelyn and Lily confirmed what words could not yet express. "How could you?" he finally managed, his voice cracking as understanding crystallized. "She's my daughter. She's your stepdaughter." The confrontation escalated as shock gave way to rage. Robert's voice echoed through the house as he demanded explanations. "How long? When had it started? Why?" Evelyn attempted justification. "We didn't plan this. We found comfort in each other. You were always working, always absent." "Don't you dare blame me for this," Robert thundered. "There is no excuse, none, for what you've done." Lily curled inward, suddenly looking like the child she still partly was. "Dad, please," she begged. "I love her." Those 3 words shattered whatever restraint remained. Robert ordered Evelyn from the house, threatening legal action, police involvement, public exposure. When she refused, citing her legal rights to the home, the family structure completely collapsed. Within hours, Robert moved to the guest room, installing a lock on the door. Lily fluctuated between defending Evelyn and begging her father's forgiveness. Evelyn vacillated between defiance and attempts at reconciliation. The ethical complexities multiplied beyond the obvious power imbalance between step-parent and child. Though Lily was legally an adult at 18, Evelyn had entered her life during formative, vulnerable years. Questions of consent became entangled with psychological manipulation. The pregnancy added further complications, a biological impossibility before Evelyn's transition, yet now a reality that could not be denied. By nightfall, Robert contacted an attorney, determined to protect his daughter and the unborn child from a situation he viewed as predatory and exploitative. Despite Lily's protestations of mutual love, the once peaceful household had transformed into 3 people trapped in an unimaginable ethical nightmare, with no path forward that wouldn't cause further devastation. In the weeks following the revelation, the Carter home transformed into a battleground of legal preparation and psychological warfare. Robert moved with calculated precision, consulting with 3 separate attorneys to build an airtight case. His legal team advised documenting every interaction while pursuing 2 simultaneous objectives: divorce proceedings against Evelyn and preemptive custody arrangements for the unborn child. "I'm pursuing a restraining order based on predatory behavior," Robert explained to his lead attorney, a specialist in family law. "She systematically groomed my daughter while serving as her step-parent. There must be consequences." While Robert built his case, Evelyn's mental state deteriorated rapidly. Household security cameras, installed by Robert for everyone's protection, captured her pacing hallways at 3 a.m., muttering to herself about rights and recognition. During rare shared meals, she alternated between tearful pleas for understanding and cold accusations about Robert's emotional neglect, driving them together. "You never saw us, either of us." "Not really," she told Robert during one tense exchange. "We found in each other what you couldn't provide." As legal paperwork mounted on Robert's desk, Lily found herself torn between parental loyalty and her complex feelings for Evelyn. Her pregnancy, now entering its 2nd month, added physical symptoms to her emotional turmoil. Morning sickness provided convenient excuses to avoid family confrontations, but nighttime offered no escape from the suffocating tension. News of the situation inevitably reached the community, despite Robert's attempts at discretion. The family's church pastor arrived unannounced one Sunday afternoon, offering counseling and spiritual guidance. Neighbors who once brought holiday cookies stopped waving from driveways. Lily's phone filled with unanswered texts from confused friends. "We're concerned about the allegations we're hearing," the school counselor stated during an uncomfortable phone call to Robert. Lily's welfare is our priority, and we're legally obligated to ensure she's safe. The isolation intensified the pressure building within the household. Evelyn, facing potential criminal charges depending on when the relationship began, grew increasingly desperate. Security footage showed her removing documents from Robert's home office, downloading content from family computers, and making late-night calls from the backyard where recording devices couldn't capture her words. The breaking point approached when Robert received an unexpected email from his attorney. Motion denied. The court requires additional evidence before granting temporary removal. Both parties maintain legal residence rights until hearing. That night, Robert installed additional locks on his bedroom door after finding Evelyn standing over his bed at midnight, silently watching him sleep. If you were in Robert's position, what would you do? Would you continue pursuing legal channels despite their slowness? Or take more immediate action to protect your family? Would you confront Evelyn directly or remove yourself and Lily from the home? Comment below with how you would handle this impossible situation. Your perspective might help someone facing a family crisis right now. The tension within the Carter household was building toward an inevitable explosion. No one could have predicted how devastating that explosion would be. November 17th began with unusual quiet in the Carter household. Robert had spent the day meeting with his attorney, receiving devastating news. The custody filing would take months to process. The legal system moved too slowly to address the immediate crisis destabilizing his family. He returned home after dark, his mind clouded with exhaustion and desperation. The house stood silent except for the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Robert noticed the kitchen light casting a dim glow across the living room floor. He moved cautiously toward it, hyper-aware of every creaking floorboard beneath his feet. Evelyn stood by the kitchen counter, illuminated by the soft light above the sink. Her posture was rigid, her breathing shallow. On the cutting board before her lay a large chef's knife, the one Robert had received as a Christmas gift years ago from Eleanor. "You're destroying everything," Evelyn said without turning around. "All the paperwork, the lawyers, the accusations. After everything we built together." Robert remained in the doorway, calculating the distance between them. "There's nothing left to build. You violated every trust. You exploited my daughter." "She loves me," Evelyn whispered, fingers inching toward the knife handle. "And I love her. You're the one tearing us apart with your judgment and your threats." "Love?" Robert's voice cracked with disbelief. "You were her parent. She trusted you as a mother figure. You manipulated a grieving child." Evelyn's hand closed around the knife, lifting it slowly. "You never understood me, what I needed, who I really am. Lily sees me completely. She accepts me without conditions." Their standoff was interrupted by Lily appearing at the top of the stairs, drawn by the escalating voices. "Please stop fighting," she called down, her voice fragile with exhaustion. What happened next occurred in a chaotic blur of motion and reaction. Evelyn turned toward Lily, knife still gripped in her hand. Robert, interpreting the movement as threatening, lunged forward. Their bodies collided with violent force against the kitchen counter. "Put it down," Robert shouted, grasping for Evelyn's wrist. "Just put it down." The struggle intensified, bodies twisting in a desperate grapple for control. Lily screamed from the stairway, her cries punctuating the sounds of the physical confrontation below. Glass shattered as they crashed against the china cabinet. The knife flashed in the kitchen light, shifting directions with each frantic movement. Then came a sudden, sickening silence. Both figures froze, locked in a grotesque embrace. The knife had found its mark between Evelyn's ribs, driven deep by the combined force of their struggle. Her eyes widened in shock and understanding. "Robert," she gasped, her voice barely audible as crimson bloomed across her silk blouse. She crumpled to the floor, the knife still embedded in her chest. Pandemonium erupted. Lily's hysterical screams filled the house as she rushed down the stairs. Robert stood motionless, staring at his hands in disbelief. The 911 operator recorded Lily's frantic call at 11:42 p.m., her words nearly incomprehensible through sobs. Police arrived within minutes, securing the scene with clinical efficiency. They found Robert seated on the kitchen floor, cradling Evelyn's lifeless body. Lily huddled in the corner, arms wrapped protectively around her midsection, around the unborn child who would never know one of its parents. Forensic psychologists later analyzed what triggered the fatal confrontation. "We see classic patterns of perceived entrapment from all parties," noted Dr. Eliza Kim. Robert felt trapped by legal delays, Evelyn by impending abandonment, Lily by divided loyalties. When humans perceive no escape from intolerable situations, violence becomes increasingly probable. The knife, a wedding gift intended for family meals, had become the instrument of family destruction. Blood spatter analysis would later confirm Robert's account of a chaotic struggle rather than premeditated attack, a detail that would prove crucial during the trial ahead. The Carter case exploded across national headlines within hours. News vans lined the courthouse steps for Robert's arraignment, where he faced second-degree murder charges. Public opinion fractured immediately, some viewing him as a father protecting his family, others condemning him as violent and prejudiced against his transgender wife. Family horror, transgender stepmother murdered after pregnancy scandal, blared one tabloid, while more measured outlets explored the complex ethical questions surrounding the case. The prosecution built their case around premeditation, arguing Robert's legal preparations demonstrated planning. The defendant systematically documented interactions, installed surveillance, and ultimately took matters into his own hands when legal channels proved too slow, the district attorney stated during opening arguments. The defense countered with a temporary insanity plea, presenting expert testimony about acute psychological stress. Any parent discovering their spouse had impregnated their child would experience profound psychological distress, argued defense attorney Caroline Wilson. Mr. Carter acted in a moment of extreme duress when he believed his daughter was in danger. Forensic evidence ultimately supported the defense's narrative of a chaotic struggle rather than calculated attack. After 9 days of testimony and 14 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict: guilty of voluntary manslaughter rather than murder. Judge Harrison delivered a nuanced sentence: 8 years with possibility of parole after 5, acknowledging both the tragedy and the extraordinary circumstances. This case exposes gaps in our legal system's ability to address complex family dynamics, he noted during sentencing. The verdict established new precedent in cases involving transgender family members, prompting legislative reviews of custody laws and protection orders across multiple states. Legal scholars still cite the Carter case when discussing the intersection of family law, gender identity, and crimes of passion. Lily Carter left Pine Grove immediately after the trial, her 7-month pregnancy visible beneath oversized sweaters as she exited the courthouse for the final time. She relocated to a small coastal town 3 states away, where anonymity offered protection from judgment and media attention. There, with support from her maternal grandparents, she completed her GED and eventually enrolled in community college courses. In spring, she gave birth to a healthy boy named James. The birth certificate listed only Lily as parent, a deliberate choice to minimize questions about his origin. As James grew, he displayed his mother's artistic talents and quiet demeanor, unaware of the tragic circumstances surrounding his conception. "I tell him I loved someone who isn't here anymore," Lily explained during her only post-trial interview. "Someday he'll need the whole truth, but for now, that's enough." Meanwhile, Robert adapted to life at Westwood Correctional Facility, where he participated in anger management and family trauma counseling. His exemplary behavior earned him privileges, including a position in the prison library. Letters between father and daughter remained infrequent at first, the weight of shared history creating a barrier neither knew how to navigate. "I failed everyone," he wrote in his journal. "My wife, my daughter, even Evelyn. I should have seen the warning signs earlier. I should have protected them all." By James' 4th birthday, reconciliation had begun. Robert received photos of his grandson and spoke with him during monitored phone calls. Upon his early release for good behavior after 5 years, Robert settled in a neighboring town close enough for weekend visits but distant enough to respect boundaries Lily established. the emotional toll remained evident. Lily attended weekly therapy, working through complex trauma and conflicted feelings about Evelyn, both victim and victimizer in her narrative. Robert never returned to engineering, instead finding purpose in advocacy work with families torn apart by crisis. Neither spoke publicly about the case again, though its impact extended beyond their private pain. Law journals cited the Carter precedent in discussions of parental rights, while psychology textbooks analyzed the case as an extreme example of boundary violations and family system collapse. For the Carters, justice had been served, but healing remained an ongoing journey without completion. Had the neighbors, friends, or even Robert himself recognized certain behavioral patterns early on, perhaps this tragedy could have been averted. Looking back, several critical warning signs emerged long before the pregnancy. First, excessive private time between Evelyn and Lily should have raised concerns. When adult-child pairs consistently seek isolation from other family members, it often indicates boundary issues. Family therapist Dr. Hannah Reeves explains, healthy parental relationships include private conversations but maintain transparency with the other parent. Secrecy is different from privacy. Second, role confusion appeared when Evelyn positioned herself as Lily's confidant rather than parental figure. A step-parent should support appropriate parent-child boundaries, not undermine them by becoming a best friend or romantic interest, notes child psychologist Dr. Marcus Wong. Third, physical boundaries gradually eroded. Initial appropriate contact, a hand on the shoulder or brief hugs, evolved into lingering touches, sitting unnecessarily close, and creating opportunities for physical connection. These progression patterns frequently precede inappropriate relationships. Fourth, information gatekeeping became routine. Evelyn controlled what Robert knew about Lily's activities and emotional state, positioning herself as the essential intermediary. This triangulation isolated Robert from his daughter while strengthening Evelyn's influence. Family systems often break down when experiencing multiple simultaneous stressors. The Carters faced extraordinary challenges: grief over Eleanor's death, Evelyn's transition journey, Lily's adolescent development, and Robert's work demands. Without proper support systems, these pressures created vulnerability to boundary violations. For families experiencing crisis, resources exist before situations become dangerous. Family therapy specializing in blended families can establish healthy boundaries during transitions. Grief counseling addresses unresolved loss that might lead to unhealthy attachments. LGBTQ+ family support groups provide guidance for families navigating gender transition. Parent-teen communication workshops build direct connections between parents and children. Every family needs clearly defined boundaries. Healthy family systems include appropriate physical contact with respect for privacy and bodily autonomy. Balanced relationships, where parents maintain authority while showing empathy. Open communication channels between all family members. Regular family meetings where concerns can be safely expressed. Recognition that parents, biological or step, must prioritize child welfare above personal needs. If this video has helped you recognize concerning patterns in your own family or someone you know, please like and share it. Your action could prevent another tragedy. Subscribe to True Crime Village for more stories that educate while they captivate. Hit the notification bell to join our community dedicated to learning from these difficult cases. What warning signs have you noticed in families around you? Share your observations in the comments below. Your insight might save a life. The Carter family's destruction reminds us how quickly ordinary lives can shatter when fundamental boundaries collapse. What began as a second chance at happiness ended with 3 lives forever altered. One lost entirely, one imprisoned, and one left to raise a child born from betrayal. Between these tragic bookends lies a cautionary tale about vigilance, communication, and the sacred trust families must maintain. This case, though extreme, echoes patterns seen in numerous family tragedies across America. When parental figures exploit emotional vulnerability, when communication breaks down, when warning signs go unaddressed, the foundation for disaster takes form. From Connecticut to California, similar cases emerge with alarming frequency, suggesting these aren't isolated incidents but symptoms of deeper societal failures to protect family structures. In our next episode, we'll examine another household where appearance and reality dramatically diverged. A respected community leader, his 2 wives, and the basement no one was allowed to enter, until a power outage revealed what the darkness had been hiding for nearly a decade. The story raises uncomfortable questions about how well we truly know those we consider pillars of our communities. Before you go, take a moment to reflect on your own family's boundaries. Are there conversations that need to happen? Behaviors that deserve closer examination? Your awareness could prevent tragedy before it develops. If you found value in today's examination of the Carter case, please support True Crime Village by liking this video, sharing it with someone who might benefit from these lessons, and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue bringing these important stories to light. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember, the strongest families are those that protect their most vulnerable members.